Hi, let's do a little bit of a more in-depth look at the Eduard and the Black Cat Academy Catalina. By the way, one of you asked, do I have any heating in here? No, absolutely not, but it is starting to warm up a little bit. We had snow on the mountains, and I think it's still there. A couple of cold fronts that came through, and that freezes the place up for a while. But don't worry, soon there won't be beanies and jerseys and stuff like that. Start warming up nicely. I wanted to say something else. Someone asked about my 3D printing. Now the 3D printing is not the one that I have because it's a filament printer. The fineness is not applicable for scale model use, so for that you basically have to do resin printing, and I don't do any of that. You can do very, very nice stuff, but I've just that's one avenue that I'm not going to go down. So the filament printer is good for stuff sort of radio controlled level. That's quite applicable there to various parts that may help cockpit, or for instance, I could print a seat, I could print an instrument panel, things like that. But for model purposes there's very, very little application, apart from the fact that it's PLA, which is polylactic acid, which is not a styrene, and it can't glue with styrene, and it sort of would just look a little bit out of place. You're better off just making things out of styrene plastic. So my 3D printing is not really an overlap with the plastic scale modeling. Now this large box, dual pack, dual combo, I must say Eduard markets and packages very, very well. And I want to show you this. All of this here, now I know it looks a little bit more because there's a number of pieces clipped off, but all of those canopy parts that are still on there, wait, let me open this. I really can't see through there. And I'll put this down. All of this is what's left over from the my club member friend Malcolm, who did the one. Okay, sorry, I needed to take that all out. So you can get a little bit of an idea of how much extra there is, because when I show you the other one, then you sort of have to negate this amount of stuff to know what really went onto the model. It looks like an enormously full box of stuff. And part of that is because many of the, and there's a couple that are loose here, I've let them fall into the box. A number of these are not for the Mark 5B, so their overlap on kits and the sprues that they supply, as I gather, they're able to give you very full boxes of variations and extra bits. So presumably, I'm guessing, even though you bought the Mark 5B or Mark 5C, you wouldn't even need to do that. You could do a number of variations. So this is all the leftovers, and this is all the leftovers that will be present when I build my version of it as well. Now obviously some are not quite relevant. You would need different fuselages and wings and stuff like that, but I'm just showing you how much Eduard have supplied. So that's 3 extra props. Oh, and then the 2-blader. Now obviously, as I say, it's not all relevant to exactly doing this particular kit. so many intake variations, tips, bulges. Eduard have really sort of, you know, they probably supply the most full boxes of stuff out of any one that I've seen. Oh, I remembered I do have one other Eduard. That's that ME109 panel, instrument panel. That one is Eduard as well. Not quite an aircraft, but a kit. So now when I go through these parts, just keep in mind that that much of it is not going to be used. Let's put that down there for now. So very first I wanted to show let's show the fuselage first. Now there's very fine rivet detail. My eyes get tired by the end of the day actually, and now I need to hold this further to see it all, but when my eyes are fresh, this is actually what I should do in another video, is show you the comparison of these parts to Tamiya. I'm not sure if I have a Hasegawa. I might. The resolution of those rivet lines almost doesn't even reach the resolution of my phone. You must tell me how well that came through. So the panel lines stand out quite well, but the fineness of the rivet lines is quite astounding. I didn't think I would be seeing this level of detail on a 1/48th kit. If I got a Harvard that had this quality, that would be like the ultimate present. This is just really, really good. So I've clipped off a couple of the props. Oh, I can show that piece. So you've got slight blade differences and blade thicknesses. I haven't delved into that yet, but let me show you that. So single piece, very, very nice trailing edge, very thin, very well molded. And the thing about this kit, until I spot anything, I'll tell you, and the Black Cat Catalina, is I haven't spotted a sink mark. I haven't spotted a blemish. Nice thin aileron, very thin. Very nice detail. So this is going to have to be my absolute best quality build, because that's what Eduard demands, if you know what I mean. It's you have such good quality on the basic airframe. So that is the full clear set. Slight differences in canopy. sorry, in the bubble part, you have got, I mean, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got open and closed. So you've got the variations if you want to do it closed. So you've got a single piece. You've got the same variations for open, presumably, yes. And then I'm assuming some are not really relevant for this one. Then you've got the armored front windscreen. You've got the not so armored one. Sorry, I will hold that up. That's the armored one. That's the not so armored one. What else have they got on here? They've got a couple of little clear parts which I'm not quite sure what they are. Presumably one is gun sight. Nav lights. Can't see it on there. Would it be on the tips? I don't know what the Spitfire's nav lights look like. If it even has any. Must have. So gun sight. A landing light? Does the Spitfire have a landing light? You know, I'm not the most clued up person on Spitfires, I will tell you that. So let us just open these 3 sprues. You know, lots of bulkheads. Wow. I do like that. It's a good thing this is not in, this is, there's no Harvard available, because I would not be able to control myself. So I don't know how many of those bulkheads are relevant, or if they have ever so slight differences and they're the same thing. I'm going to be learning a lot about the Spitfire during this build, I guess. So you've got your cockpit side, see there, I'm showing you the reflection with very nice detail, and not a sink mark, not a blemish. So I'll show you all of those fine parts. A lot of cockpit detail. We have got, okay, there's a variety of exhaust stacks. I won't go through them all. There's that 2-blader prop for the prototype version, which you wouldn't use here. Oxygen bottles, the seat. Oh, I just want to show you this close up again. Is it going to be better if I actually hold this out of here? I feel like the reflection of the plastic is just a bit too much each time. Now look at the, I've bent that slightly just on the joins, that's okay. Okay, fixed it. Look at the grills. Look at the instruments. See, those are colored photo etch parts, and with sort of clear raised, you know, to give the impression of the actual instrument glass. I don't know if I can catch that in the light. Those little black dots there, you see they're actually raised. So that is about the best instrument panel that I have seen. And then you've got the little center, panel for the 6 flying instruments there, which then slots over onto there. Now the leftover is all of that. So those grills didn't get used, which means I can use them on another model, something unrelated. They could have almost had a use on my universal carrier if I was leaving the grills on. But anyway, nice little set of extras. Then we get to these under the nose scoops, the blisters, some wingtip options. So obviously 3/4 of this, if not more, doesn't get used. And then I must say this is like the best quality molding that I've ever seen. So those tires, you see, now that is just so well done. You know, I've mentioned if they would mold tires separately so that you can paint them better, and that's all done. So rudders, wingtips, I'm trying to look for any fault. Okay, the one thing that I can see, which I'll show you, which is just you remember the little wormy effect when they inject the plastic, and it does leave a slight visual blemish which can carry through. That one, yes. Don't know if you're going to see that there's a little wormy effect on the surface there. I don't know if that's even, if that's a part that will get used. What's the difference between those two? So it looks like that rudder has got one of the small navigation lights, but what's the difference between those two rudders? Oh, okay, that's a tiny little difference. So the one has got the aerial connection at the top there. Wingtips. Oh, they've got, okay, so it's those tiny little type of nav lights, which means they would not get a clear part onto there, I don't think. They're too small for that, I think. So, you know, it's very hard to fault anything here, and I'm not even going to drop off a 1 because of that. So I would have to say that one gives this a 10 out of 10. The decals are obviously a huge set. I want to show you. I had a look through the color schemes, and I'll show you the ones that I find slightly appealing. Well, I mean, there's so many. This one is quite nice. The dark blue is not bad either. This grey is a little bit different from the usual. Don't see a lot of people modelling the grey, so I slightly like that. This one with the dark blue nose section is also something a little bit different. That's this one. It's got the camo, but it's got the dark blue nose. Your standard green and brown. I mean, you can do a very nice build out of so many of these. That one I actually do find quite appealing, the grey and brown. So the light grey is very nice. This plain green is actually also an option. I'm going to have a little bit of a think about that one. And this grey, I do actually find that appealing. And otherwise, you know, one of the grey and brown schemes. Let's see if I can show you what's in the cockpit. Let's just have a quick look at that. So this is the cockpit. A nice little cockpit tub that gets built up and then inserted into the fuselage. Little cockpit sub-assembly, which is quite full with a lot of detail. Oh, okay, here's a look at the parts that are not used. So that's all the sprues, and there's the parts that are not used. So it gives you an idea of how much extra. A mask. So you get, would you get 2 masks? I guess you should. Let's just see what else is there. I'm not seeing the other mask, so that may not be present anymore. That's okay. Okay, so that is a look, sort of a little bit of a brief overview of the quality of this model. Now, obviously, since they apply so, they give you so much extra, the box ends up being huge, not only because they give 2 kits, but they've just got so much extra in there. Okay, I will do a little bit of a comparison to a Tamiya Spitfire, and my initial impression is that the fineness and presence of all of the every little detail that is present on the surface is what makes Eduard. Give me your comments on that as well. You've got more experience with Eduard. There's a nice little layout of the color schemes. and to be honest, many of them are nice. I could easily choose about 4 of those, but I won't choose the most common. I will try and choose, I mean, that does stand out, that blue. The light grey, and a whole bunch more, huge number of schemes. That light grey is interesting, but when you see it against all of the other options, it's a little bit bland. Okay, let's have a look at the Catalina. How are we doing on time? I'll have to go a little bit faster, but that's okay. This is the Eduard is from 2020. This is from about 1996. I have to say, Academy really did a good job here. Considering the time difference, the number of years between the Spitfire's quality and this aircraft, the Catalina's quality, now obviously it's not Eduard, there's no question, but that is very, very good. Yes, you have got sink marks, so it is not going to reach the absolute high marks that Eduard gets. There's sink marks there. Now it would be so interesting to have someone from Eduard tell us how they get to mold without any sink marks, but that I'm sure will be trade secrets. But very, very nice detail in this, everywhere. Now, all of the flying surfaces are done in a texture. That texture is probably overdone compared to reality, but it's something that can work on the model due to the size of this model. You can see it there. Let me just actually hold. So that is quite the wingspan and quite a large wing area. So with a kit like this, you know, you're obviously not measuring up to perfection on this one. There's sink marks there, which you can catch in the light due to the thick plastic, but I wouldn't do anything about it. So you can see that's a fairly thick chunk of plastic there. And does it need... I'm not sure if there's optional extras, but I'm guessing if you have the floats up, then you still need that part as part of the wing. There's not a separate thinner panel for that. If I take away the big parts and show you what's left. So we have got some of the finer things, but not a huge load. A couple of internal bulkheads. I won't do the bombs. and I won't do undercarriage down. It's not, to me it looks far more appealing undercarriage up. The clear parts are pretty thick. They are a thick plastic, but they are very, very nicely molded, very clean, very nice framing lines with rivet detail. Engines. So very small decal set. I will possibly use them. I mean, if I am going to do the black one, I guess I could use these or just find something else. So not, you know, if you break it down, yep, there's a little bit of internal bulkhead detail, simple cockpit, but all of the focus is really on the exterior, which I sort of like, which makes a build that can sort of progress at a fair pace, I think. I do like that. How much would I give that out of 10? Probably, I guess it would have to get an 8. Does have sink marks, but for the rest it's a really, really good model. -1 for decals, but I mean that's the scheme they've provided, so they've provided adequate, though it would be nice if they'd sort of given a couple of options. And we are at 32 minutes. So in the last minute or so, I will briefly just look at this. The decals, I just want to show you that. That is the state of the decals page. I get the idea from the visual effect, which I don't know if you're going to be able to, yeah, you should be able to tell. You see, when you can see the silvering that much on all of the decals, it means that the page has got damp enough in the past, not hardly noticeable, but damp enough that you probably find the glue is hardly going to be worthwhile. But if the carrier film will actually hold together, look, there's a bit of crunched up on this side, but I mean, one may still be able to salvage that. If it'll stay together, then decal sol and decal set can still make this all usable. And there's one decal that, well, there's one obvious one that I can use to test out, to see what happens, to see the nature of what happens. These walkways, I assume that's the walkways. Is it? No, it's not. What are those? Oh, okay. You have to paint the red, but you get a decal for the white and the blue. May just be able to get away, you know, don't rush it, take it carefully with each decal. I've actually got one of these little, I've got one of those Airfix motors. I want that might actually be an idea. Put it on, keep the engine, oh, well, so you can either build it without using the engine as a surround. Then you can put the motor inside the engine as another option, inside the scale engine, or else you can build the scale engine full. So I might actually rather just keep this, because those engines are very good. Keep that as a separate model. Put the little Airfix motor, I might even have put that down here somewhere. I must find that motor now. Well, it's not imminent. Oh, this is, I'm actually not sure if Airfix released a couple of the motors, because this is a bit offset, and I can't remember if it was a geared motor. One of the reasons that I'm a little bit drawn to this is I built the Spitfire near the beginning of just as my modeling career was taking off well. When I say taking off well, I mean I was starting to build a lot more, and building the equivalent, the counterpart in the Battle of Britain, now after many decades, sort of is rather fitting. So while it's big, you know, if you separate out the engine, so this one was either up or down undercarriage. This was not one of the swiveling ones like the Spitfire. Oh, and then the stand held the batteries. That's right, I forgot about that. So we have that one. And I will go through the parts, you know, after looking at an Eduard and that Academy. It's a little bit of a backward step looking at this Airfix now. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, especially considering the age. But we'll take a good look at that one soon. I have been thinking I want it to be absolute, full of the character of Battle of Britain. A little bit battle weary. I don't want a freshly painted Hurricane. I won't do battle damage, but I want these pictures are too nice and clean and fresh. Okay, so very happy with the two models there. The Catalina is definitely a model that you can just get stuck into really easily and do a nice build. The Eduard is almost a lesson in the Spitfire. It's just got all of the detail and all of the surface content that you would ever possibly need. I mean, I hazard a guess that there isn't something on the Spitfire that isn't on this model. Okay, 39 minutes, a little bit of a long one. Happy modeling. Cheers.